just won the first playoff game in the history of Benton Harbor High School. Congratulations! Let's go. Go!
That's 10 push-ups.
5 minutes.
Now.
And we want to change the culture.
If they don't have grades, football doesn't mean anything.
I've stayed here for the kids.
They're the future of this country, and they must be prepared.
On set.
We make sure we tell them this was made especially for you.
I've had teachers on the kids game, we want A's this year.
So they can grow into mature men and be good husbands and fathers. That's the whole goal.
They'd never wanted that before.
I'm going to do everything I can for you. You do everything for me. I promise you I'll do it for you when this is over.
Very good.
It's been great. See everybody cheering us on, being on Sports Center. We're all brothers.
Let's go on through.
We're all one.
Tiger Pride! What are we talking about? Tiger Pride! 1, 2, 3! Tiger Pride! Devo! Let's go. Devo! Morning, folks. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Footsteps, fist pumps,
Oh, you kidding me?
Let's get it together.
and a fight song.
And one of the little girls walked in, she was like, "Oh my God, y'all still here?" He was like, "Yes, and we'll be here every day."
It is just the typical roar of the morning at Benton Harbor High.
Let's go. Smile this morning.
These kids are some of the most amazing kids I've ever met. They are so funny. They really are. They make me laugh.
Students here are greeted every day by school administrators, a new tradition started by Benton Harbor's new academic leader,
Aren't you trying out for cheerleading?
and a new tradition started to help change the culture and put the focus back on students.
It has really, really, really been an honor to serve my alma mater. It was a lifelong dream.
A dream for Principal Roger Ronaldo Triplett that comes with its own challenges. Benton Harbor High is listed as a priority school in the state of Michigan, meaning it's in the bottom 5%.
You know, it hurts us that we're considered one of the worst schools in the state of Michigan, and we aren't. It really hurts us that our children are looked upon as being horrible young people. It hurts us that our teachers are looked upon as being ineffective.
Oh wait, so here's what you gotta do.
It hasn't been an easy road for these educators, even those who survived the layoffs during the state takeover. But Shay Briggs Sterneman stayed on board.
I've stayed here for the kids. They're really good kids.
She stayed for nearly 15 years as a history, psychology, and law teacher.
They really are very passionate about their teachers in particular. And once really you get accepted into the community, there's not really a going back.
Her lessons, practical.
I did my master's thesis on the history of Benton Harbor. And really, I mean, it was what happened in all of these Midwestern towns. It happened in Detroit, it happened in Flint, Muskegon, all of these places that were these huge economic booms where people went to get jobs, to get really good pay. And then, you know, in the mid-70s, early 80s, when we started to shift away from that, when our manufacturing started to shift out of the country, you know, communities like Benton Harbor were left with 20,000 people and not 20,000 jobs.
A history that is still lingering in Benton Harbor, with unemployment at 6.8%, the median household income just over $17,000. Programs for families cut, a government takeover with the hire of an emergency manager to intervene in the financial affairs of the city, and most recently,
Get that hat off there.
the state takeover of the high school.
So really it's been about just, you know, let's not necessarily distract ourselves from it, but let's focus still.
It's affected families in Benton Harbor, and most recently, it has hit close to home for these students as one of their own, 17-year-old Carlos Kelly, was shot and killed.
We just sat down and we talked a little bit because I wanted to be with them, because I lost something special too on that day. I lost an amazing young man who had so much potential and so much swag, and was just starting to realize that education was a possibility for him.
Carlos was, when he was here, and even when I had talked to his students or to his teachers, they had said, how he had started to change. And he was, walking around with this book that he really liked and, really was focused on graduating, or was trying to be, which was a huge shift. So really, we're really trying to maintain that focus, especially for his friends.
A shift in focus that's being led in part by another new leader at the school.
I've always wanted to come back here. It's a great community. I've always enjoyed it. The kids are great, and I just felt I had something to offer, and I wanted to make a difference in their lives.
With more than 30 years of experience in the field, Athletic Director Fred Smith is part of the new administration team, tasked with turning things around for the Tigers.
And every teacher would be successful if they'd ever get the kids to spend 3 hours a night after school working on something really voluntarily to be good at. And if we can get the kids just working half that time on their grades, to be good at, and we want that to happen so we can change the culture.
A culture still reeling from high poverty and crime rates. And in the classrooms, nearly 10.5% of students are dropping out. It is higher than the state average. And the state of Michigan says just under 70% of students are graduating.
What happened?
As soon as he came on board in July, Smith began working closely with Principal Triplett.
We both feel, and I know it's sometimes short-sighted, that athletics can make a difference in kids' lives.
Where have you been all week? You still haven't answered my question.
They both agree that athletics help motivate kids.
You missed a ton of practices on the freshman team, too.
And keep them off the streets and out of trouble.
Get in the huddle. Hey, Scout, good job.
And soon, one sport would serve as a catalyst.
Hey, quit acting like a baby.
For some big changes at Benton Harbor High, reaching as far as the community. We have new leaders. We have you. We have a new athletic director. And we have this new football coach. So kind of talk about how all of these leaders are kind of working together to really make this change in Benton Harbor.
It just seemed like things just fell into place. And so we found that there's a commonality here. And as we get to know one another, all of us have a belief that children are our #1 priority.
You're offside. You got 3 minutes. That's how they're going to trap.
Their #1 priority when they're in the classroom and on the football field.
He said we can do it if we just pay attention and work hard and practice. He already had goals and plans set for us, and let's get ready to roll.
He knows how to coach and how to come at people.
A playoff run that wouldn't be possible without
Coach U, Big E, Old Man, Pops.
a new coach with old-fashioned fundamentals, not just on the football field, but
The only 2 things that count now are academics in Zeeland West.
in life.
What touches me is you're talking about a lot of young people who have very little, who live in a very tough community, a community that's economically depressed, but yet they still have heart, they still have desire, they still have dreams.
Find out how Coach U is making those dreams come true.
For sleeping in the meeting, Chris Johnson and Shaw, hand on the line.
Yeah, I'm very happy I did this. I miss my grandchildren. I miss my time with my wife because we've had a great time together. We've been married 52 years and we have a ball. But also I'm helping a lot of young people.
Family is important to Elliot Uzelak.
Watch, George.
I know we can't help them all. I don't think we're going to change them all.
For the past 52 years, he has served as a husband, father, and grandfather.
And move.
But many know him as coach.
But if we change some of them, it's going to be worth it. It really is.
Oh, he's been great. One of my favorite coaches. He taught us how to show respect, discipline, just helping us out.
Get the huddle.
He's about business and he's ready to win.
Go.
Enter the Benton Harbor Tigers football team.
Chris, I want to see you move, Chris.
Just days before summer practice, there was no coach. But that was about to change. A Hail Mary thrown by Coach's wife, Wendy.
Well, we were going to Alabama, and he'd been retired for about 4 years. And we would go down there actually in the fall and in the winter.
And we were talking, and Wendy said, hey, I think you're a little bit bored.
And he said, yes, I'm kind of bored, you know. I knew he was. And I said, well, why don't you coach? And he said,
there's nothing going on. She goes,
call Benton Harbor.
And with that, I almost drove off the road, but we laughed. And then when we got down there, we started talking about it seriously.
I said, they don't have anybody, and they need somebody bad. And I said, that would be a good fit for you because you would really enjoy that. It requires a lot more than just coaching football and X's and O's. There's a lot involved, and I knew that he has so much to give.
So, coming out of retirement, it was time for this coach to meet the team.
There's this old man standing up here in front of them, old enough to be their grandfather, telling them we're going to win. You got to be kidding me. They thought, man, this is the worst thing they ever done here. But, you know, fortunately it worked out.
They Googled him to find out who he was, and they found out, hey, he's coached at Western, and he was assistant for Bo at Michigan, and he coached at St. Joe, and he turned St. Joe the year before he took over there. They were 0-9 in his first year.
And that's the rival, right?
That's our one of our rival across the river.
See, I don't Google. I don't do all that stuff, Twitter or whatever you call it. I don't have any of that. So I didn't know. I didn't know they did it. You know, and I thought it was kind of funny when I heard about it.
Coach Uzelak was anxious to get started. He knew what he was up against. The Tigers were 0-9 for the past 2 years. In fact, they haven't had a winning season since 1989, and they've never been to the playoffs.
They haven't been successful. Didn't have the tools to be successful.
We're watching, Shaw. We're watching.
Coach didn't care. He got right to work.
First practice, you ever see the movie The Longest Yard? That first practice was like that. We had guys bumping into each other, footballs going into the woods. One kid ran into the fence. They ran in, I mean, they had no clue how to practice. It was a complete crazy nightmare.
Coach quickly learned about some external hurdles the team was facing. For one, the water at the football field contaminated. He fixed that in one day.
Well, we had no water on the field, and I couldn't believe that. So I met with a couple of our state representatives, and I said, look, this is not acceptable. And, you know, the power of the press is a good thing.
The team needed a workout room and a meeting space to watch tape. The school helped make that happen. Some of the players were malnourished. He got businesses and community members to donate money and food to help feed the team. But perhaps the biggest hurdle, players missing practice due to after-school jobs.
That was a difficult one because I didn't expect that some of our student athletes would be the breadwinners in their family. But actually, if you took away that money, their salary they made, it would hurt the family bad.
And with the help of school board members, they came up with job alternatives for the players.
The kids found out real early that Coach U cares about them. Not just as a football player and an X and an O, but as a person. And he wants them to be successful, not just on the football field, but in the classroom and in life.
Football, that's just a means to an education. That's not the whole answer to this solution. I mean, it gives them an opportunity, but if they don't have grades, football doesn't mean anything. So that's what we keep preaching to them. And they got to make better social decisions. I don't want them doing stupid things off the field. I always tell them, do what's right when nobody's around. Just remember, do what's right when nobody's around. I'm not around, none of the coaches. Do the right thing. You know what's right and what's wrong.
Let's go, let's go.
What the former NFL and Division I head football coach did next.
All of what I'm about to tell you sounds like something out of a movie, but it's better because it all actually happened.
Is now a storyline ripped from national headlines.
For Good Morning America, TJ Holmes, ABC News, New York.
Now this story, it seems like it's straight out of a Hollywood movie.
I know they all thought this old man was crazy when I met in August, told him our goal was to go to the playoffs. I know they thought that. That's okay, you know. But I knew that if we could turn them around mentally and physically and start doing the right things on the field, it would carry over everywhere. They had to have success. They had to taste success. Once you taste success, then you push yourself harder. Yeah. And fortunately, we did that.
Friday, October 31st, 2015. The Tigers won their first playoff game in history.
All right, listen up. Listen up. That was a good win, but I'm going to tell you straight up right now, we can't advance in the playoffs by making that many mistakes. Now, you're probably saying, well, how come he ain't super happy and all that? I am super happy. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just telling you what's ahead.
I scored 3 touchdowns and 142 yards. I knew we was gonna win some games. I wouldn't imagine this right now.
Hey, you just won the first playoff game in the history of Benton Harbor High School.
A moment the coach credits solely to the guys in black and orange.
That's why this story's about them.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Tiger! 1, 2, 3, Tiger!
You don't understand because you weren't with them. If you saw where we were then and where we are now, it's a beautiful story about a bunch of young guys, 33, 34 of them, whatever it is, that just made a complete turnaround. Not only in football, but I think most of them in their lives. They're making much better decisions now.
This historic win has a ripple effect across the community.
Well, we're honored to do it for Benton Harbor. We first started doing this on a large scale when Coach Uzelak came to St. Joseph.
Next, meet a group of community members who are opening their arms and kitchens.
It's more than just being on the other side of the table serving them.
As the community rallies around this team's roar.
1, 2, 3, Tiger!
While the handoff is supposed to be one of the simplest plays in football. For these moms, what they hand off after 2-a-days and before games takes some practice.
Hand on the line.
We would cook every day, come home, wash, and then prepare for the next day. And we did that for 7 days.
Meet the Tiger moms. While they aren't the players' actual parents, their hearts are still there.
Well, we're honored to do it for Benton Harbor.
In fact, their kids went to school across the bridge to rival St. Joe and Lakeshore. But they're doing what they can to help continue the momentum the Benton Harbor football team and community is feeling right now. It all started when Trish Adams' son was recruited to be the quarterback coach for Coach U at Benton Harbor after spending several years actually playing for Coach at Lakeshore. But now, her son did some recruiting of his own. His target? His mom.
So he went to the first 2-a-day practice for Coach Uzelak and came home and said, Mom, they don't have any food. I mean, they had like peanut butter jelly sandwiches and warm milk for 2-a-days, which are pretty, pretty vigorous workouts for them. I mean, we wanted to see them get more food. And he said, Mom, will you cook for them? And I said, okay, I will. But first I'm going to call my best friend Dana and see if she'll help me. And I said, Dana, help.
And with that, Dana and the rest of the group started planning meals for the team every single week. But it became less about the food and more about the relationships they were building.
The relationship that we have established with these kids, and I am not going to cry, but they're our own. Yeah. We see them, and it's more than just being on the other side of the table serving them. The respect that they've earned, and we have too, has brought us a long way. And we love these kids. They're just like our own.
While he's leading the team to playoff wins, Coach Uzelak isn't the main character in this part of the story. It's his wife, Wendy, and the kids she serves.
They contacted me and I was really happy to jump in and help. It was a big need over there and they needed all hands on deck. So they've been doing wonderful things and we really appreciate it. We never, ever could have accomplished what we have as far as football goes without those moms.
It's not just the Tiger moms stepping up.
Well, my mom always said every little bit helps.
For Willie Lark, giving back meant feeding the team his famous barbecue.
But if I can just do a little something, then I was a part of. I've always been a team player myself.
Lark's Barbecue is just one of many businesses across the city donating time, money, and food to help out the team. It's about supporting a culture of change in Benton Harbor.
But I've had a dialogue with people that are excited about Benton Harbor starting to have that winning spirit again. And that's have been a spirit hanging over Benton Harbor. It had that losing spirit, but now they're back. They're starting to win.
Let's go! A winning spirit that isn't determined by the score Friday night, but one that school administrators and community members want to keep alive long after the Friday night lights.
Fight pride! 1, 2, 3! Fight pride!
I'm very proud to be a part of this.
Right side, good morning.
I'm very happy to be a part of this. My wife and I made the right decision.
You just won the first playoff game in the history of Benton Harbor High School. Congratulations!
I'm on the board. I wrote playoffs on there. I scratched the line through it. We made it.
It was exciting. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to react.
We went 0-9 2 years in a row, and we made a big come around by coming to the playoffs. It's just like a big turnaround. You wouldn't expect this from us.
With a historic win behind the Tigers, Coach Uzelak is trying to get the team to refocus.
Now, this goal is to win a district championship, but we got to beat the state champs, Zeeland West. Tall order for us, but hey, we're up to it, and we're going to go hard.
They have a tough matchup against 10-0 Zeeland West.
My final message on Friday, just go out there, play like you know how. Don't get all nervous, don't get uptight, be freewheeling, and just play like you know how. Enjoy the moment, and let's go.
A moment that will be watched closely by people all over the country as this story struck a chord, football fan or not. This David versus Goliath story about the underdog overcoming all odds to come out on top.
But I am so glad that the world is getting an opportunity to see them. Not me, but them. Not Coach U, but them. Not the moms that help, but them. Not the community, but them. Not the board members who work tirelessly, but them. And all of us sit back with so much pride.
Pride that has captivated an entire community. But this story doesn't end Friday night.
The true story will tell when our grades come out and when our test scores come out.
The momentum will be sustained. We were already moving in that direction. So we'll continue. You know, we got, right now, we got to pass this M step. We got to get these juniors. This is all amazing. But our juniors are going to have to represent this district on the M step. And so this same momentum is going to go into the classroom. It's not going to die. We'll keep on moving.
Their goal, keep moving forward and showing the students that hard work now will pay off. Principal Triplett says everyone will win as long as students always come first.
Just let it always be about them. Let it be about them just one time, please. And I think that we did that real well at Benton Harbor High School this season. In the midst of this polarity of victory and grief, and finding that common ground.
Victory and grief through a football game and a funeral.
That actually was my cousin.
17-year-old Carlos Kelly died on the streets before he had a chance to take the field.
He talked about getting on the field next year. He talked about playing football next year. But, like, I just try not to think about it so I can, you know, stay focused.
A focus that's difficult in the face of tragedy. Another life experience that coach wants to help guide his players through.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of tragedy in Benton Harbor. Like I said, it's a very rough neighborhood, and you have to make correct decisions all the time.
And move!
Correct decisions on the field, in the classroom, and in life. A game plan Coach U will use for the foreseeable future.
As long as my health is good and I have the enthusiasm, I'm going to stay here and continue to help these kids.
A game plan that comes without cost.
He doesn't need the money, so he's not taking the money.
I see a bright future. I think we could have a very good program here.
We're just happy he's here.
Just remember one thing. I'm going to keep reminding you this every day. You're playing for a district championship. You're playing for a district championship. None of us have been there before in this school, but we are now. So I want you to practice with pride and play with pride in that game. What you do today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, you'll do in the game. I'll guarantee you. You got it? Yes, Coach. Let's bring it up. Let's go. On three. What are we talking about?
Tiger Pride.
What are we talking about?
Tiger Pride.
1, 2, 3.
Tiger Pride.
Hey, just play like you know how. Have a great night. Enjoy it.
Great season. Good job. Great job. Great job.
I think this story, wait a minute. This story is about a bunch of kids who've always wanted to do well and just never had the guidance, the love, the caring, the discipline to give them that opportunity. And the best part about that is that when we did that, they embraced it, they moved forward, and they had a great year. And that's, to me, that's the story.